Okay guys, welcome back. So today we are tackling a topic that was actually sent to us over the weekend by the founder of Arcos.
Right, yeah.
Sal had emailed me just to say that he had noticed on his data, and his Arcos data, that his performance was really dropping off on his 54-degree wedge, and it kind of coincided with the wedge really being at the end of its lifespan. And he was curious whether we could test whether there's a significant difference in proximity. That's how he obviously is measuring his performance on his 54. He's wondering if there's a difference in the proximity between an old wedge and a new wedge. So he found it with his 54. Today we're going to test your 55 as you carry.
Yep, two 55s.
Your sand wedge and your lob wedge, so basically 55-60. And we are going to see if there's a difference. We just fitted you into some new Mizuno wedges.
Absolutely, yep.
Some brand new little beauties, performing great. So we want to test them against your SM7s and see what we can find.
So basically, you know, a year and a bit's worth of use. I practice a fair amount, so this face has got definitely some wear on it, some nicks and
it's not the worst though, is it? Like we kind of cleaned it up and went, it's actually not too bad.
I don't think we really want to do this test with something that's obviously destroyed, because then this isn't really much of a test. This has got good amount of wear, but it's not at a point where you'd necessarily think, I kind of need to replace that.
But you as someone who has access to equipment and is someone who's looking to play your best, you're probably looking at it questioning it.
Yes,
am I giving something up right now by playing this? And I'm sure a bunch of you guys are as well. Or maybe you've not thought of as your wedges get a little bit older that you're losing out on something. We don't think of that with irons. We don't think that there's a lifespan to those. Wedges are different. There's a little bit more technology on the face, the milling, the sort of the roughness on the face that produces the friction that creates spin and produces those kind of little touch shots around the green.
Shortest expiry date for a club in the bag is a wedge, basically?
Yeah, it would be.
Right? Like you replace it the most often?
Most people probably think that's driver.
If you look at the numbers, it's driver, but it should be the wedge.
Got to get a new driver.
That's so fun.
But yeah, it really is, because you're in sand. You're taking the biggest divots.
True.
You have the most contact with little
rocks and stuff in the earth.
Everything that you could possibly hit, you're going to have the most contact with the wedges. Plus, we hit our wedges the most.
It's so true. You're chipping on. Most people are chipping on almost every hole.
Yeah. So we're going to dive into that.
Okay.
So let's start now. We've very specifically chosen the 18th at Pebble Beach because we have hit this shot.
Yeah, we love this little shot.
Yeah, it's so difficult. If we take a look at sort of what it is, there's a slanted green from right to left. It kind of really slopes away. We've set the green pretty firm and fast, pretty fast.
Yeah.
So it should really expose something that's grabbing and going to stop quickly, and something that really has lost its kind of power to stop.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Right.
Do you want to start with mine?
Yeah, let's start with the SM7. Then we'll go to the.
So I'll hit a few of those. That's kind of the shot, isn't it? Like it's got
it just has to be a fraction harder, but it's really close. That's got to be close.
Now trickle. Oh.
That's nice. Spin hard.
A little more aggressive there. That's
I like it. That's nice. That's the perfect speed.
Yeah, there we go. Good.
Get bounce.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fairly good.
Oh.
That's nice. Go in. Go in.
Oh,
I really thought that was going to go in.
Oh, lovely little shot. Come on, it's got a chance. Oh, it's just going to get a little left bound. If that was a yard right, it probably would have had a real chance. Travel.
Come on, up. Ah.
Oh,
I really want to
a
jar
good
one.
line. Just there. It's got a chance.
Maybe.
Hit the flag.
Maybe, maybe. Oh.
That's so good. Okay, Matty boy. Probably a surprise in a sense that your old wedges actually performed really quite well.
They were
on the surface.
Yeah, for sure.
It looked like you were hitting great shots with them, quite similar. It wasn't until we dived into the numbers, and the averages actually don't represent. So if you look at that, you go, well, why would you ever change?
Yeah. And that's the mistake you make.
That's the mistake you make, because once you get into looking at the standard deviation, you start to pick up that the ball speed is tighter. The launch angle is tighter. The average spin, this was interesting to me, like that is really quite tight. And if we look at the table on those 55s, those basically there, and you're seeing hardly any deviation. You're seeing a much bigger deviation on the old one.
Yes.
And that's really appears to be the value here of going with old versus new.
And when someone's asking why that would happen, it's because this newer wedge, you've got all this surface area. You're not going to hit them all identical.
Yeah.
These grooves and face milling, they're all the same. I've got wear spots in different areas. Mm-hmm. So obviously one shot, normal spin. One shot, maybe a bit more or a bit less. Like if the grooves are rounded and stuff like that, is that kind of the difference? The milled area that's been worn down?
Yeah. There'll be sort of a little less consistency.
Right.
Actually, that picture probably tells a little story as well of the probably tells the standard deviation story.
It's just the size and shape of the circle, right? You've got a little bit more room on the long right from the spin loss and gain at other times.
As we get into the full shots, very similar pattern. And here's our biggest, obviously, discrepancy.
It came out more making a more full swing. Mm-hmm. So this probably required, like 80% power.
Yeah. And
the deviation actually expanded there.
Yeah. So it's the consistency in which you see a certain shot pattern is what we saw. I think it's safe to say, though, you've had these wedges 1 year. Mm-hmm. How many rounds have you had under your belt?
A year, at least 100, I'm sure.
Really? Is it about 100?
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, so even if we say 80 to 100, right? Yeah. With a little bit of practice.
That's the difference. Definitely some practice.
Yeah, that's probably the time frame in which you're looking to change.
Because for a lot of people, that might be 2 years.
A couple of years for most. Yeah,
40, 50 rounds is a nice amount of rounds for most people. I play obviously way more than average, so. Mm-hmm. But this proves to me that, I think you have to assess it for your skill level, but it's hard to look at that, especially the proximity to hole being, how many feet closer were you with one versus the other? Yeah,
I mean, the proximity, look at all those red flashing numbers there. That's very, very close.
So a couple feet closer with that, and then the 54 was even more so, I thought it was anyway.
Let's have a little look.
That one was, 7? Yeah, so 5 feet closer on the 55 degree and a couple feet closer on the 60. I think that's what Sal was talking about. He's like, I'm obviously not getting up and down as much or whatever. I'm not hitting as close for birdie with the 54 because it's, I'm getting inconsistent numbers. Yeah. You're hitting a shot and a different result.
And it's something I'd love to go into a used wedge bin, grab like a 5-year-old wedge and do this test.
Yeah. I can probably bring you some older
and
ones.
do that in a similar sort of situation to this, because I think that would be
interesting
really fascinating.
I do think this is valuable because I like that it's a realistic situation. We didn't just go, here's a beat to hell wedge. Oh, it's not as good. Well, you think? Like, this is a wedge. You pick my wedge up and go, you know what, that's in pretty nice shape. You wouldn't necessarily think it was an issue, and there's performance in there to be lost from it.
And we were in your wedge, giving it a good scrub before
clean,
we sort of got using it. So we made sure it was going to perform at pretty close to optimal. So
it's enough that it'll be, you know, until I get my new ones, it'll be something I think about.
Yeah.
That, you know, if I hit a shot, didn't do exactly what I thought, I'm usually quick to blame myself, but this shows that there could be, you know, 800-900 RPMs of spin in there just from a different, you know, part of the face, and that's plenty to change the ball flight.
Absolutely. So again, you know, the value of Arccos is being able to see these types of things, establish them, go ahead and test them, validate them.
Yeah.
And pretty fascinating. And one of the big takeaways for you was, for 80 yards, you would normally hit a little 3/4 60-degree wedge. You would no longer do that.
Unless there was some reason I had to hit it maximal height. I proved to myself that it took way longer for me to get decent shots with 60 than 55. The 55 was pretty easy. Like, most of them were fine. So that was definitely a lesson learned for me. It's just not worth trying to control distance by pure feel. Have a little checkpoint in your backswing and just swing through.
So little wider standard deviation is really the key here.
One thing I wanted to ask you, this is like ideal conditions.
Yeah.
The face milling being worn down, it'll be worse than grass, no? Like, if it gets a bit wet or you're in the rough, you'd expect worse performance?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would expect the difference to be significantly
higher. Maybe we
higher.
follow up outside with that?
Outside, yeah.
Part 2 will be outside. Well, maybe we'll get a wedge that's a little older.
I'd like to do like new, old, older.
Perfect. So we'll do that. We'll do that outside.
You know, and see what the difference is.
I think it'll expand more with the different things that get in between the ball and the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet.
Good. Okay, guys. Hopefully this is kind of helping those of you who are looking at, you know, do you need to change your wedges every year? Do you need to do it every couple of years? We're kind of talking about the average amount of rounds. Titleist, I know, have done some great research in this with their test robot, so I think it was 125 rounds. Maybe, if I'm wrong, apologise.
But I think it's safe to say something around 100 is fine, right?
Yeah, so they tended to find that the rollout that they found was significantly higher on old wedges, over 125 rounds of use.
Yeah.
So if that seems like you, however long that time period is, whether that's 2, 3, 4 years, try to think, okay, at that point you probably need to look at new wedges.
And if you practice more often, maybe even a little bit sooner.
Absolutely, it's a good point. Yeah, I mean, if you're in the bunker, you spend some time in there and you're really kind of wearing down that milling, you probably are running out of time to use that wedge.
Okay, great.
Okay, guys, appreciate you watching. Stay tuned for more. We've got some more videos coming on wedges. We're on the road to 100K. If you don't subscribe and just watch the videos, hit that subscribe, hit the notifications. You'll get the sort of alert that the new videos are out when they come, and join us on the journey to 100K. We'll see you again soon.